Okie dokie, here we go. I thought about this video sitting in the tub thinking about that rogue dog guy. Turns out, for those that watched the live stream, it turns out that guy was not a wake nat. He was somebody who liked Viking stuff, and that was a tattoo, but he's getting it removed because he doesn't want to be identified with neo-Nazis. Pretty smart move, but I think it's going to occur over 10 different, he's got to take 10 different trips to get it removed. And so that's part of the reason probably why he was hiding it with his mask. But I was thinking about that, him talking about Lawton, Oklahoma. And you think about these small places that really don't have much going for it, There's not much going for these places, man. You're just kind of trapped in these little worlds, It's hard to think about. The reason I say this is because, you look at this country and, people will talk about economics, they could talk about whichever, they could talk about, transportation and talk about whatever. It's just like the U.S. is so far behind. And Joe Biden is giving lip service to the idea of, well, maybe we can get health care, maybe the $15 an hour minimum wage. But it's like, even so, he's only doing that for federal workers. He's not doing that for everyday motherfuckers. Even then, the transportation system isn't being fixed. This country, is just falling behind in terms of education, in terms of life expectancy, everything else. I just feel like, it also has to do with the fact that, there is no real left-wing movement in the U.S. You can talk about Antifa all day, but ultimately Antifa, are just various groups across the country that probably don't see eye to eye on everything. And ultimately, they're just there to, dox, Wignats or dox, your racist boomer uncle. It's just like, okay, I mean, if that's what you want to do, go ahead, I guess. If that's your idea of praxis by doxing people and getting them fired, okay. You're just creating, you're creating more enemies. You're creating folks that just have nothing else to lose. You're pushing them further into the arms of the people you don't want them to, But whatever, I guess, if you want to be self-righteous and feel like you're doing something, go for it. But anyway, beyond that, what else could save this identity? What is the identity of the U.S. now? I thought it was the ideas of like, freedom and, the happiness and pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of happiness and, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I thought that's what it said in the Constitution, right? I mean, that's clearly going away. And of course, a lot of MLs would rightly say is that the U.S. was always meant as a counter-revolution. The American Revolution was a counter-revolution. And that's not even people supporting, the Anglos and whatnot, but it's like, I'm beginning to see it as the truth. And I think a lot of conservatives, the smarter ones anyway, are starting to realize that the American Revolution was not some grand thing. It was just for companies not to have to pay the crown. That's really what it comes down to say, I'm going to keep my money. I don't know. I hate to be one of these leftists or be one of these folks who's just like, America was built on greed. But I do feel like that, it's the truth. And like I say, I was listening to that expat lady, and as much of a white woman as she is, as much of a why-not as she is, well, same thing, white women, why not? Anyway, but it's like, it was just such a superficial argument. It's like, if you would actually studied American history more, you'd know, same as it ever was. It's amazing to me to think about what could save the U.S. or what is keeping the U.S. going. What is really keeping this country going? A fear of drones, a fear of the military. What? Some because we have LARPing boomers. What's really keeping this thing going, man? That's the real question, right? The left and the right both have collapsed, I think. The right wing has collapsed. You have Enrique Tarrio being arrested. We see, people like Nick Fuentes, of course, continuing to be a cope LARPer. You have, the conservatives, so-called conservatives who are doing these big rallies and literally just, shooting money from a cannon so people can be entertained, TPUSA types. You look at the left, I mean, who do you have? The IRL left, the Antifa folks or the BLM folks or these random left-wing groups. The thing is, I feel like this is what's going to happen. I've given many assumptions about what could happen with the collapse of the U.S., but I think this is more realistic. The U.S. economy will collapse because of hyperinflation, which could very well happen. Hyperinflation will occur. You will have certain states that will broker deals with the Chinese, I imagine. And the U.S. will try to invade. The U.S. Army will mobilize, and they will, probably try to declare martial law. Now, it depends on how strong resistance is, but, it could pop off like that. And then we have an all-out war. An all-out second civil war in our hands. That's pretty flimsy, and there's a lot of holes in that. There's more holes in this story than Swiss cheese, probably, but that could be an option. That the U.S. economy collapses and other states just start making their deals. And, I mean, you could have the Hitler sort of fantasy that, some ex, army officer who is, such a great speaker and whatnot, like Hitler, who is asked to infiltrate some Wignat group or something, and then becomes, the Fuhrer of the United States. It could happen. But I just don't see it happening because I feel like the U.S. has too many cringe people as it is. And I think that there will be a fair amount of resistance. I feel like as much law enforcement as there is, I feel like some states will just rebel and be like, no, fuck you. And there will be coalitions built and other stuff like that will fight back. Not to say it couldn't happen. It could, but I don't know. Maybe I'm being optimistic. But I feel like the real story is that the U.S. will, the economy will collapse. And some states will completely collapse altogether, and others will, create like more socialistic ideas where they're going to, employ people and give them food. Kind of like the some of FDR's programs probably, or maybe even, maybe like a Reich labor service. I don't know. But I feel like that's what's going to occur. And then you're going to have, like the lawless states that just, they operate as, warlords, where it's just like the economy's collapsed and, maybe we're paying things in Chinese yuan. Hell, I don't know. Could be Mexican pesos for all I fucking care. Who knows? But there may be rubles. But I feel like that's what could occur. And it's like these governors would just become, the same type of, they would just go mask off. They wouldn't have to hide their racism. They could just be honest about it and just be like, no, fuck you, N-word, and just keep going, But I don't know, man. Like I said, what could save the U.S.? I don't know what could save the U.S. I really don't. What could really save this crazy country? This, this country that, just doesn't have much going for it. I'll be honest with you, man. Individual companies may have stuff going, but the country as a whole, no, absolutely not. You can't say that, I'm going to go back to Lawton. You can't say Lawton, Oklahoma is doing good. No, you can't say that. They're doing awful. That place is falling apart. Or, you can't say somewhere like Gary, Indiana is so much better off than, I don't know, fucking, shit, I don't know. But it's like, you can't really say that, man. These places are doing awful. You can't say the whole nation is doing good. No, it isn't. And Joe Biden is not doing anything about it. He's still building the wall. He's giving more firearms to the police, giving more military gear to the police. He's not going to get the $15 an hour minimum wage. The squad is an individual group. They said, once again, I know a lot of the left-wing folks had been talking about it yesterday. But I'll talk about it right now. Is what's her name? Said we vote as one, or we vote individually. It's just one vote. So once again, Presley and all these other folks, they just she admits that she's that's it. Yeah. But this is where we are, man. This is where we are. We see this country just kind of slowly tearing itself apart. There's not much holding this country together, man, in my opinion. It's just what people have been talking about for years, that it's just about comfort. A lot of these boomers don't, they talk a big game. A lot of them do. But they don't, especially now, after the Capitol insurrection or whatever, Capitol riots, whatever you want to call it, boomers are now going to be sucking the cock of, American exceptionalism even more. Well, we don't want, we don't support what they did, I don't know, man. Like I said, I think this country will just be rotted out, and by the time there is a civil war, there's not going to be anything left. The Chinese and Russians don't want anything. They're going to take some intellectuals and take some folks that have some, good technology and whatnot. But other than that, they're going to leave everything else. It's just going to be like, fuck, I don't know. I don't even know, man. I don't know. A lot of doomer pill. I'm sorry. That doomer pill, the black pill, those go down easy, like I say. So I know that wasn't a happy and warm video. Maybe I'll try to do something a little bit more happy and warm in the future. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just put this right out. And I hope y'all enjoy it. See you later. Goodbye.